He said whatever you want again. That phrase, the one that makes your jaw tighten and your chest feel like it's filling with something hot and heavy. You asked where he wanted to go for dinner. You were trying to be nice. You were trying to share the load. And he gave you nothing. Just that flat, polite, completely useless answer. Whatever you want. You didn't blow up. Maybe you've learned not to. You just sighed and picked a place again. You planned the weekend. You figured out the vacation. You made the call on the new couch. He nodded along. He seemed fine, and you felt something shift inside you. Not anger exactly, something worse. You started to wonder if he actually cared about any of it. If he had a single opinion in his head. If he just checked out somewhere along the way. It looks like laziness. It looks like indifference. If he had opinions, he'd share them, right? That's what you thought. That's what everyone thinks. So you pushed harder. You asked more directly. You started making decisions without him. You told your friends about it over wine. He has no personality, you said. He just goes along with everything. And the relationship slowly became something you didn't recognize. You became the manager. He became the employee. The one who just shows up. But what nobody tells you about that moment is this. The real explanation has almost nothing to do with not caring. Let's look at what actually happened. Conversations got shorter. You stopped asking his opinion because you already knew the answer. When you did ask, it felt like pulling teeth. So you stopped pulling. You just took over. He seemed relieved. And you felt more alone than ever. Friends started commenting. They'd ask where you wanted to go and you'd answer for both of you. They'd make jokes about how you wore the pants. You laughed. You felt a little proud. And also a little bitter. Because wearing the pants wasn't a choice. It was a default. Then something worse happened. You started testing him. You'd make a decision without consulting him just to see if he'd react. You'd book a trip and tell him after. You'd buy furniture and watch his face. Nothing. He'd just adjust. He'd just go along. That silence became the loudest thing in the relationship. It was like living with a ghost. A nice ghost. A ghost who paid bills and washed dishes and told you he loved you. But still, a ghost. And you thought that was the whole story. Some people are passive, you told yourself. Some people just don't have opinions. Maybe you even started to think you'd made a mistake. You wanted someone who'd push back. Instead, you got someone who'd agree to anything. But you were wrong. That silence isn't emptiness. It's a strategy. Think about it. If you have opinions, you have to share them. And if you share them, you open yourself up to being ignored, to being dismissed, to being overruled, to having your choice laughed at or pushed aside. After a few years of that, you learn to keep your mouth shut. Not because you have nothing to say, because you've learned that saying it costs something. Some of these men learned this lesson long before you met them. They learned it in their families, in previous relationships. They learned that if they expressed a preference, they'd be corrected, mocked, made to feel stupid. The safest answer is the one that doesn't start anything. They've been using that answer for so long it's become instinct. So when you ask where he wants to eat, he's not thinking about food. He's thinking about avoiding a fight. He's thinking about not being wrong. He's thinking about how last time he suggested a place, you said you weren't in the mood for that. He's thinking about how the time before that, you sighed and said fine. He's thinking about how his opinion has never actually mattered. So why would he offer it? And you saw that as laziness. You saw it as indifference. You saw it as a lack of personality. Here's the part that hurts. He saw your frustration as something else too. He saw your pushing as rejection. He saw your decision-making as proof that he didn't matter. He saw your sighs as disappointment in him. He heard your comments about him having no personality, and he tucked that away, added it to the pile, and concluded that you were right. That he was broken. That he just couldn't get it right. You were reading his silence as withdrawal. He was reading your frustration as proof he was failing. Both of you were wrong. Both of you were operating from the same conclusion, that the problem was the other person. Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine a man named Mark. Mark has been with his partner for 7 years. He loves her. He'd do anything for her. But when she asks about their vacation plans, he freezes. He doesn't know what to say. He wants to please her. He wants to make her happy. But every time he suggested something in the past, she's had a reason why it wouldn't work. Too expensive, too far, too hot, too cold, too crowded. So he learned to say, "Wherever you want to go, honey." And he meant it. He just wanted her to be happy. But over time, that answer stopped making her happy because she wanted a partner, not a passenger. So she stopped asking. She planned everything herself. And then she started to resent him for it. Nobody noticed this, but Mark was dying inside. He could feel the relationship slipping away. He could feel her frustration growing. And he had no idea how to fix it because every time he tried to have an opinion, it was wrong. Every time he tried to step up, he was told to step back. So he just stopped trying. And the relationship got thinner and thinner until there was almost nothing left but routine. That's not laziness. That's not indifference. That's a man who's learned that his voice doesn't matter, so he stopped using it. And here's where it gets even stranger. What Mark needed wasn't for his partner to ask more questions. He needed to feel safe enough to answer them honestly without being judged or corrected. And what his partner needed wasn't for him to suddenly have opinions. She needed to feel like she wasn't alone. She needed a collaborator. Both of them were starving for the same thing and had no idea how to ask for it. Now here's the real mechanism, and this is the part that changes everything. In every relationship, there's something called a bid for connection. A small request for attention. A question. A suggestion, a look, a touch. Your partner asks where you want to eat. That's a bid. They're not just asking about food. They're asking you to participate. They're asking you to show up. And the way you respond to that bid tells them everything about how safe they are in the relationship. When one partner consistently avoids expressing opinions, it's not because they don't want to connect. It's because they've learned that bids get rejected. They've learned that offering an opinion leads to being overruled or dismissed. So they stop making bids. They go quiet. They become invisible. Not because they want to, because they've learned it's the only safe option. But the other partner sees that silence. They feel it, and they interpret it as rejection. They think, my partner doesn't care, my partner doesn't want to connect, so they push harder, they make more decisions, they take more control, and the quiet partner feels even more invisible. The cycle tightens like a screw. And here's the most dangerous part. That cycle doesn't just create silence, it creates something worse. Over time, the quiet partner stops expecting to be heard. And eventually, they stop hoping for it. That's when the real damage happens, when hope disappears. Because once a person stops hoping to be heard, they stop trying to connect at all. And that's the point where the relationship becomes hollow. You're not partners anymore. You're two people sharing a house. What most people don't see coming is this. The silent partner is often not the one who leaves first. Think about that. The person who stopped talking, the person who seems checked out, the one you think doesn't care, they're usually the last one to walk away. Because by the time they stopped hoping, they'd already gone through something worse. They'd already grieved the relationship. They'd already accepted that this is how it is. And when someone has already done that grieving, they don't need to leave. They're already gone. They just haven't told you yet. That's the twist. The silence you think is safety is actually the final stage of someone who's already processed the loss of connection. They're not fighting anymore. They're not hoping anymore. They're just existing alongside you. And that's harder to come back from than any fight. But there's something even more uncomfortable. The person who feels most ignored is often the one least willing to change anything. Think about that. The partner who complains about the silence. The one who says, he never talks to me, he never has an opinion. That same person is often terrified of what would happen if he actually started speaking up. Because if he started having opinions, if he started pushing back, if he started being present in the relationship in a real way, then she would have to deal with him. She would have to adjust. She would have to share control. And that's terrifying in its own way. So here's the real question. Is the silence actually the problem? Or is the silence protecting both of you from something even harder to face? Now look at the other side. The partner who makes all the decisions, who carries all the weight. That's not control, that's terror. They're terrified that if they stop, nothing will happen, that the relationship will collapse, that they'll be left alone. So they pick up every burden, they make every choice. They resent their partner for letting them. But they never see that they're the ones who took the burden in the first place. This is what makes the system so hard to break. You both built it together. Every time you dismissed his opinion, every time he stayed quiet instead of speaking up, every time you made a decision without asking, every time he let you, you both participated, you both contributed, and you both blamed each other for the result. Neither of you is the villain. Neither of you is broken. You're just two people who built a system that made sense at the time. It was a survival strategy. Both of you protecting yourselves, both of you suffering, and neither of you seeing the other's pain. And fixing silence can make things worse before it gets better. Because once he starts speaking up, once he starts having opinions again, you might not like what you hear. He might disagree with you. He might push back. He might actually participate in the relationship in a way that feels unfamiliar and uncomfortable. And that discomfort is the price of change. What no one expects is this. When silence breaks, it doesn't always bring closeness. Sometimes it brings distance you can't recover from. Because if he finally starts talking, and you realize you don't actually like what he has to say, you're left with something even harder than silence. You're left with the truth. And the truth is that you built this system for a reason. Maybe not a good reason, but a real one. And seeing that reason can be more painful than the silence ever was. That's the real question. Not how to make him speak, but whether you're ready for what happens when he does. So what do you actually do with this? The first thing is to see the system. You didn't cause this alone. Your partner didn't cause it alone. You built it together. Every decision you made without asking, every sigh you let out, every time he offered nothing, every time you interpreted that as rejection. The system grew slowly and invisibly until it was the air you breathed. The second thing is to understand that this is about safety, not opinions. You don't need him to suddenly have strong preferences about Thai food. You need him to feel safe enough to tell you what he actually thinks. And he needs to feel like his voice matters, even if it's different from yours. Think about the last time you dismissed something he said. Not loudly, not cruelly, just a small correction. A sigh. A quick no, that won't work. That was the moment that taught him to stay quiet, and you probably didn't even notice you did it. That's not blame. That's not guilt. That's seeing the system. And seeing it is the first step to changing it. The man who has no opinions isn't a man with nothing to say. He's a man who stopped believing that anyone wants to hear it. And if that hit you somewhere deep, if you recognized yourself in this story, whether you're the one asking or the one going quiet, you just did something powerful. You looked at a pattern that's been invisible for years and you saw it for what it is. That's the first step, and it's the hardest one. So the next time he says whatever you want, take a breath and remind yourself that the silence isn't nothing. It's a story you haven't heard yet. If this hit home, drop a comment about a moment you recognized yourself in this.